What is up with it? Today we are going to be watching some purple Luffy versus red-haired Shanks. This is going to be on Holden Miller's Twitch. Flyest Raven, shoutouts to the GOAT, Holden Miller. This is a matchup that I've heard a lot of mixed things on. I've heard some Pluffy players say, man, it's a pretty rough matchup. It can be really hard. I've heard some others say, oh, it's pretty easy. So I'm interested to see how Holden approaches it. I'm going to go ahead and choose to go first after winning the rock, paper, scissors, of course. Interesting that he's running the miss double finger. I feel like I don't see that particularly often. So definitely an interesting tech choice here. I wonder if he will elect to play it. No, he will not. I'm kind of wondering why it's in the deck if we're not playing it here. Is it just a 2K? Because if it's just a 2K, I'm not sure. I guess we're not playing it here because we don't have anything to play off Luffy Taro. So even if we do curve to 7, like, what's the point? And we don't necessarily want to not use leader effect because we already don't have like exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so this 9-drop Luffy is obviously going to be super important. Our opponent playing Lucky Roo on 4. They of course leader affected when we swung this turn, and then the previous turn they took when we swung 8. I'm going to go ahead and swing 6 here. I imagine we'll give that double finger. And they're going to go ahead and play the Luffy and swing 7. This Luffy's just such an incredible card. It's just so good. It's actually just genuinely so good. I imagine we'll see a 2K come down here. Is what I think would be best for the opponent. Okay, just gonna block. I see people do this with the Lucky Roo frequently, and I'm not sure I really see the vision. Okay, so we are gonna play out the big Luffy, and I think we're gonna go ahead and try and take this, this resting Luffy. No, okay, so I think if he had countered, we would have probably tried to take the resting Luffy, and because he didn't counter, we'll just go ahead and 9-mom. And we'll play the big Luffy maybe next turn. Try and stabilize at 2 life. Our opponent's going to go ahead and swing 7, and we will, of course, be taking that. 6 Dawn remaining. Another rush Luffy here could be problematic. Okay, that's a little better for sure. The rush Luffy would have been a little bit more problematic. We still don't love to see that, but it's not the end of the world necessarily. We're going to go ahead and swing 5. So perfectly willing to let our opponent just free leader effect, get out of an attack every turn. Okay, so just going to go ahead and play the big Luffy and say, hey, look, I have a lot of cards in hand with a Gum Gum. If you want to try and pressure life, your best swings here are 10-10, and I survive that every day of the week. So I don't really care about anything you got going on the board right now. Our opponent does have actually 100 cards in hand, which is pretty insane, honestly. Like, wow, that is a lot of cards in hand. This game, we've more or less found our curve. So definitely not in a bad position so far. We're going to go ahead and poke 5 with this Zoro. Poke 7, not a swing we love to see come down here, I don't think. But we'll go ahead and Gum Gum. Just in case they try and do anything crazy like play a dragon and swing 11, we don't really want to open the door for something like that to happen. Holden also wearing a Baltimore Raven sweater. Thought he lived in Texas. Not sure what's going on there. Swing 6 is actually super annoying considering we have no 2Ks. We're going to go ahead and swing 8 at life. And they're going to go ahead and double 2K. So now we'll go ahead and swing 10 at life. 3 Dawn Up is like just a really weird thing to happen. We have to imagine there's like a Red Hawk and maybe a Divine Departure in there. Maybe even a Rad Beam. Because otherwise it just doesn't make sense to leave up the 3 Dawn. We could have done other plays. If we swing 9 at this Luffy, then we're playing into kind of having like a Red Hawk situation. Okay, just gonna swing 5. Again, completely comfortable with letting our opponent free leader effect. But they choose not to do it, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure I really see the vision for why we chose not to. Perhaps a misplay from our opponent. But as long as they get to use the leader effect later in this turn, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. We're going to... Thinking about swinging 9 at life. Or 9 at Luffy. Okay, just going to swing 9 at Luffy and probably have it get Red Hawked or Rad Beamed. Deciding that, like, look, we actually don't want to swing at life. We don't want to give the opponent the rush. Also, we can't kill them this turn anyways, so there's not really any benefit to putting them to 0 necessarily. We think we'll be able to put them... We'll be able to kill them next time we start swinging aggressively, whether they're at 1 or at 0. So there's no benefit to actually put them to 0. We'd rather force resources, force them to have to protect this Luffy. Okay, they're gonna minus the law and Red Hawk the other law. Yeah, that makes sense. Just saying, hey, if you want to try and swing with this law, it's going to be even tougher for you, which it looks like Holden actually was originally planning on swinging with. I kind of like just playing the Zorojuro. I don't think a 6 swing here is going to be that good anyways, but turning this non-counter into a counter could be nice. Also gives us another body to swing with next turn. It's pretty rare that this Zorojuro will miss. Though it is possible that if we're playing the double fingers, I'm not exactly sure what our list looks like here, but it's possible that maybe we aren't playing too many searchable 2Ks. But even converting this Zoro into a 1K could be quite nice. Our opponent doesn't have really any good lines to lethal us, to be honest. Like, when you only have 3 swings, potentially 4 if they have a rush, and we have a blocker, a life, and a gum, unless those swings are already large, like, you know, 9K bodies or whatever. Oh wow, we actually didn't find a counter. I mean, we found a counter card, but we didn't find a card with counter in it that we can use. So, basically, just putting the Zorojuro on board for next turn. We are kind of telling our opponent, hey, don't gaslight yourself into thinking we don't have... Okay, so gonna start with the 5. This tells me that the Shanks player is not going for game. Which if they don't go for it at all, and we're not forced to use a gum, depending on what the board state looks like, we might actually just be able to 9-mom. Or, of course, we're going to be untapping with a lot of stuff, so it's very likely we can just go for game ourselves. Oh my god, not the ad break. Alright, we're back. Man, I hate Twitch. I hate Twitch. So, interesting to see what our opponent will do here. We know they're not going for game. Definitively, we know they're not going for game. Because if they're going for game, the 5 swing is a little weird. I feel like if anything, you'd go 7. Like if you were... Well, I guess you could always start with a 6. If you were going to go for game. Like with like a dragon. Like you could go like 6, 7, 7, 9. Yeah. Okay, so gonna swing 5 and we're just gonna block it. Interesting to just block it. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and play 13, play out the Roger. And our opponent should know that that Roger's never gonna get there. They know we have the Gum Giant. Did they have any better plays to potentially survive? Like they have this... We have this Rayleigh, which could like -3 here, -2 here, pop the Zorajuro. If they did that, we would have basically 4 swings. They don't have any events, any blockers, like they just die for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what necessarily the Shanks player could have seen differently. They didn't really see any top end. Maybe they drew this Rayleigh just at the very end of the game. But definitely we were allowed to play big bodies and our opponent didn't play big bodies. A lot of times when that happens, you just win. So once again, shout outs to Holden, the GOAT. I appreciate you all so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.